What if I told you the car dealerships who used to have all the power are now reaping what they have sown? In other words, in this video, we are going into how the dealerships constructed their empire based on hidden fees, markups, and annoying customer experiences. But now the tables are turning, from consumer backlash to shifting laws and new model buying, the very system that made dealerships untouchable. And trust me, the reason behind it is something you'll want to know till the end. So buckle up, because this ride is going to reveal the truth dealerships never wanted you to know. And if you like to uncover the true stories behind the auto world, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell so you never miss the next deep dive. Now let's get right into it. Start with this sentence. Car dealerships were once impenetrable giants in the auto market, but their reputation has been built on shaky foundations. Numerous buyers remember endless, haggling secret charges, and a sense of being trapped in a system meant to serve the dealer first and foremost. But the tide is turning because consumers are insisting on fairness and openness. So the entire practices that previously gave dealerships leverage are presently driving them into decline. Their function might still be crucial for service and selling, but the mounting criticism reveals that change is no longer an option. It is absolutely essential. Picture going into a dealership excited to purchase your dream car, but leaving with a bad taste in your mouth that stays well after the keys are in your possession. This is the experience many people remember when they hear dealerships, and it is how the line "they are finally getting what they deserve" resonates so deeply. Because the narrative is not simply about automobiles, it is about trust, authority, and the fissures in a system that was once impenetrable. Let us start with the most chilling explanation: why consumers don't trust dealerships. Shady sales methods. For decades, buyers have been complaining of bait and switch, deceptively labeled financing terms and unwanted add-ons inserted into the agreement. The consequence is that rather than becoming a valued customer, many feel more like prey in an expertly crafted trap. But if these tricks had been successful forever without resistance, maybe the model would continue to flourish. Otherwise, customers have become wiser and louder, and thus the same methods that used to fill pockets are now propelling public perception rapidly against dealerships. If buyers feel cheated once, they might never come back, and if a sizable number of buyers walk away, the very existence of the model comes into question. But the issues do not stop there, because another dagger is in the form of high expenses and agonizing markups. Dealers claim they offer service, convenience, and expertise, but critics only observe inflated prices and layers of middlemen. If the same vehicle could be purchased directly at less cost, who would be willing to pay more just to preserve a traditional model alive? Hence, what was once viewed as a required step in car purchasing is now considered a burden. The perception is that dealerships safeguard profits at the expense of wallets. And if that notion continues to spread, people's willingness to play along will break down totally. But would customers quietly take the markup? They would simply strengthen the very mechanism they already detest. And that dependent decision has been the turning point of the entire debate. The story becomes even more extreme when we look at the broader context of environmental and social consequence. Cars fill our lives today, but many believe that the dealerships are an anchor keeping us back from a car-free culture that poaches communities and scars the earth. If the future is supposed to be green, with mass transit, bike lanes, and pedestrian cities, then the dealership is on the wrong side of history, but ironically, they might transform by embracing electric vehicles and green practices. Thus, the very institutions charged with sabotaging the future might still have a say in saving it if they act wisely. And just when you believe the argument is complete, another blow comes in the form of duplication of effort. For what precisely is the dealership offering that a direct-to-consumer model cannot? If Tesla and others can sell cars without the middle layer, then why must customers tolerate the old paradigm anymore? The dealership maintains it offers security and support, but critics see it as delivering complexity, inefficiency, and increased costs. Here then, we are at a tragic juncture. Dealerships can still make a case for themselves, but the increasing evidence against them draws a less benign picture. The very practices that once earned them supremacy now throw long shadows across their existence. And if the change doesn't come soon, then what was once an empire might soon become a legacy of the past. While dealerships are frequently heaped with criticism, it would be unjust to overlook the case in their favor, since they continue to play a significant role in the automotive industry. The first and possibly most compelling argument is the role that they serve as required sales and service infrastructure. Automobile purchase is not akin to buying an ordinary product, and the dealership model allows for a formalized system that enforces legal requirements, consumer protection, and proper documentation. But aside from the initial purchase, dealerships also serve as the focal point for maintenance and repair. Thus, many contend that without them, the customer journey could become disjointed and less trustworthy. If people were to be left to deal with completely direct-to-consumer models, they may lack the same degree of support, particularly in less developed regions. The second defense they present is economic impact. Dealerships don't just sell vehicles, but also give local communities thousands of jobs, from salespeople to mechanics to administrative staff. They generate tax revenues, help small business communities, and prop up local economies that might otherwise flounder. But even as this support is appreciated, critics say jobs can't alone justify practices that many see as manipulative or out of date. But if the industry somehow collapsed overnight, the ripple effects would be seen in thousands of towns and cities. So defenders of dealerships argue that reform, not eradication, is the most realistic solution. Their survival may not just be based on selling vehicles, but demonstrating they can have economic benefit and fairness and trust side by side. And as the tale is told, we come to the most sensationalistic perspective of them all, the notion of what they deserve. This viewpoint isn't the result of careless outrage, but rather out of years of built-up frustration in which tens of thousands of buyers felt conned, manipulated, or simply taken for granted. Dealerships were once towering figures as guardians of the automobile buying experience, but their authority was won at someone else's expense. But times have evolved, and so is the power balance shifting, and dealerships are now the beneficiaries of the effects they ignored. Slipping sales in some markets, tougher regulations, and the popularity of direct-to-consumer models are not coincidences, but direct consequences of conduct that undermine trust for too long. If a company constructs its empire by squeezing customers rather than serving them sooner or later, the foundation starts to crumble. So the woes dealerships are experiencing today are regarded by many as justice and not bad luck. If customers were treated fairly from the get-go, possibly this reckoning would not be so warranted. But the truth of the matter is, years of dubious business have led them to this point. But this view is not purely about revenge. Instead, it holds the promise of change, because when people say dealerships are getting what they deserve, it also holds out the possibility that the industry will recast itself toward greater openness and customer focus. So pressure to change is not mere punishment, it is a chance to survive differently. If dealerships learn to be fair, simple, and sustainable, they can still find a place in the future. But if they fight the tide of change, they can disappear into obscurity. And in that disappearance, many envision not tragedy, but long-delayed justice. A sign that the days of untrammeled hegemony are finally yielding to accountability and progress. And so, after stripping away the layers of power, plays hidden agendas, and changing fortunes, we are left with a stark reality. The dealerships that once appeared invincible are finally at a crossroads of change and accountability. The tale of what they are entitled to is not merely cars. It is about justice, equity, and the future of how we purchase and travel. If you think this discussion is important and you would like to continue exposing the realities the industry does not wish for you to know, be sure to give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, click the bell for future deep dives, and leave your comments in the comments section. Share this with friends who enjoy truthful conversations regarding cars, and let us all continue to drive the conversation forward together.